Yeah, hi there, Trevor Davis of Our Father's House. Just opening up some aspects of truth here that I trust are encouraging you to walk the ways of God. If in your life in any way that you have withdrawn, it's like the fire's gone out maybe, and you've pulled yourself back from the things of God or the house of God and aspects of your Christian walk and your devotion in the sense of reading of the Word, the praying and connecting with God. If those have become weak in our life and our experience, can I encourage you to just pause for a minute and think about that and maybe make some decisions afresh to come back into that relationship with God. It's very important and it's critical for the days in which we live, because we are being deceived on every hand, everywhere we look. And there are a lot of, as we referred in our last session, there are a lot of lookalikes that pertain to Christianity. And that's deliberate on the works of the devil, to try and deceive and to capture the audience of the Christian people, if you like. And I'm surprised in these days to find how many people are so easily led towards those ways of wickedness, of deception, of witchcraft, of anti-God, of not knowing the Word of God. And we turn away not knowing or not willingly until we become captured by it. And then we withdraw ourselves from the things of God. It's like a coal that's in the fire. And as soon as you take it out of the fire and put it on the hearth, separate from the rest, it goes out and it begins to go cold until it is cold, while the fire is continuing to burn. Well, I want to encourage you to put the coal back into the fire and liken yourself to that. Let's get back into where the fire of the Spirit of God is, where the conviction of the Word of God is, where the compromise is gone. I mean, let's get rid of compromise and replace it for conviction. Conviction of the Word of God, conviction of sin in our life, conviction of those things is what's going to hold us in these days that we're entering into, that's going to help us to see and to discern what is false and what is truth. We've looked at that extensively over the last couple of months. So let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 4, and it says this, God who desires that all men be saved and come to the knowledge of truth. So that's God's will. God's will is that all men will be saved. He actually holds back his coming. The scriptures are the only thing when he delays his coming, his return. Why? Excuse me. He's doing it because well, there you are. Excuse me. He delays because he wants all men to be saved. That's the heart of God. Let's go on further. 2 Timothy 2 and verse 15. Be diligent. Be diligent. That's you and I. Let's be diligent to present ourselves approved to God. Approved of God. As being a worker that is not to be ashamed, but rightly divides the word of truth. That's taking this here and beginning to break it open and to divide the truth from the word and applying it to our life and to everyday things that we are confronted with today. Remember, we looked at the aspect that the word of God is the truth. This is the word that's going to keep us. This is the word by which all things must stand. This is the word by which all things will be judged. So here what Timothy is saying is that we need to study the word to show him, God, that we can rightly divide the word of truth. That is the application. That's knowing how to apply it. Number one is to apply it to our life, of course, but number two is to encourage others to how they're going to apply it to their life. Let's go on a little further. It is in 2 Timothy 3. We mentioned this in our previous session. Always learning, but never coming to the knowledge of the truth. Let's get back to the word. Let's get back away from the philosophies of the world, away from all the stuff of the world that with our confusing and taking up all our head space, if you like, with all these things, re-educating us, resetting everything. What for? Because it's a different world. They want to worship a different God, not the God. They want to push the God away so that they can replace it with their gods. That's what we're facing today. And then James chapter 3 and verse 14 says, and if you have any bitter envying, it's worth just having a look at some of these behaviors. If you have bitter envying and self-seeking in your hearts, don't boast and lie against the truth. So here, this is mankind. We become so full of ourselves, so proud of who we are, what we are, the knowledge that we have, often in our behaviours follow on from envy, from lustfulness, from pride, all of those things that be formed in our life, and we set ourselves up as somebody to replace who God is, sir. But here we're encouraged here, don't live a lie against the truth. How do we not do that? By understanding the truth. Come back to the Word. The Word is truth, though. Anything that we don't live according to the Lord, the Word of God, but when we stand against that and we replace the Word of God, then we're living in a lie. And that's what we've been encouraged here. Turn it aside. Renew your mind by the Word of the Lord. Transform. Don't be conformed, be transformed. 1 John chapter 1 and verse 6, it says, if we say that we have fellowship with him, this is important to understand, we need to get back somewhere with all that, with our lives as well. See, what we fellowship with, we become like. I don't know if you ever stop to think about this. You go into a social event maybe, and there's a lot of people that are smoking in that environment, but you're not a smoker. But yet in the atmosphere here, there's the smoke that comes from the smoking. And that smoke, what's it do? It gets into your eyes. It gets into your flesh. Eh? And then you begin to smell like the environment that you are in. Your clothes become tainted by the smoke that's in the air. And so you can walk out of there and you can go home or go to a clean environment, if you like, a clean atmosphere. And all of a sudden people can smell smoke on you and say, oh, you've been smoking. You see, because it has a stench with it, if you like. It has a flavour with it. Now, what I'm wanting to say in that, it's a little bit like this. What we fellowship with, where we fellowship, the environment where we fellowship, the people who we link with, we are influenced by that and we become like that. And that's what here that and John is trying to say. If we say we have fellowship with him, with Christ, and yet we walk in darkness, in these compromised environments, we walk in that, then we are liars, he says, and we don't practice the truth. So fellowship becomes important to understand. Here's my question. What and where are we fellowshipping today? What is the lifestyle of those whom we fellowship with? What is the belief of those that we fellowship with concerning the things of God, and your testimony and your walk and your determination to not only be a Christian but to live as a Christian? The fellowship that you have with people will influence that on you and cause you to either withdraw from the things of God or turn away from that to become more part of the things of God. That's pretty simple, isn't it? So we won't in this session today, but if you go into 1 John, he talks about walking in the light. If we have fellowship with God, then we will have fellowship one with another. And out of that relationship, out of that fellowship, out of that gathering and sharing of thought and discussion of the Word of God and the way of living, you and I will know what it is to not only discern the Word, to understand the Word, but to live by the Word. The Word becomes our life. It becomes the light. That's in Psalm 119, verse 105. The Word is a light unto our feet. It is a lamp unto our path. It's the Word. It all comes back to the Word. Can I encourage you today, if you've turned away from the Word and you're cold on it, to come back to it and pray? Maybe we should do that. Father, I pray that every person that's hearing this today, I'm asking, Lord, that you would cause within their hearts a fresh sense of hunger, determination, and a desire for your Word, and for understanding your Word, for discerning, using your Word to discern the things of the world, that we might walk in truth and in the light of the Word of God. I trust it's helpful to you today. Take this, share it with somebody, pass it on. Click on subscribe. Send us a note. Love to hear from you. And God bless you. You have a great week today. Share it. God bless.